Hello, everyone. So thank you very much for joining me today in this new training session on how to implement Bob. My name is Marta, and I'm part of the customer success team here at HiBob. For those of you who may have not joined us in the last session that we did last week, we host two implementation sessions, a basic one in which I cover basic account settings, data import, and also how to set up time off, and an advanced session in which I go over task list, employee onboarding, document management, reports, roles and permissions, and integrations, which is the one that I'm going to run with you guys today. Remember that you have our customer experience team via the chat available to you. So if you have any questions that you need to ask them, if you need any help with setting up the platform, please reach out to them. They'll be super happy to help you. And the first thing that I want to mention as well, and I'm sure that by now all of you are familiar with it as well, but just as a reminder that we have the self-implementation guide. So if you click on your profile picture over here and you go to Help Center, you will access the self-implementation guide, in which you're going to see all of the steps that you need to complete in order to implement Bob. So last week we covered step 1, step 2, and step 3, and today we're going to cover step 4, step 5, and a little bit of step 6. Great. So the first thing that I'm going to cover today is going to be task lists. So if you go to settings and you click in task list, you're going to access our task list feature. So this feature is super useful because it's going to allow you to automate a lot of processes. And let's just have a look at, for example, the working from home onboarding process, onboarding task list. When you access one of the task lists, the first thing you'll see is that you have the ability to add the scheduling for these. This means that all of the tasks that are part of this task list will be triggered at this specific point, unless you set up any dependencies within the task, which we will see in a second. As part of these triggers, you can use any of the event dates that we have in the system, such as employee start date, maybe termination date, probation end date, and also any of the custom fields that you may have created as a date type. So if you go to settings, employee fields, and you create a custom field, which is a date type of field, these fields will also show here in this list as an event that you can use to trigger your task list, which is going to be super useful. And something we have as well is the ability to trigger these task lists based on a request that an employee has submitted for time off. So for example, if you want all of your employees to submit a form or a certificate after they have been on sick leave, this is something you could set up here using task lists. So for example, you can say that you want to use sick leave as the policy that will trigger this task list, and you can create a task that will remind the employee to submit this form, to share this certificate. Maybe you can add a task for the manager to just check up on the employee. Things like that can be done here as well. Great. You can also decide whether these task list applies to all of the employees in your organization, or maybe if you want this to just be applicable to a group of employees, a subset of employees, you can use the condition, the option to select by condition. This will allow you, for example, to select a group of employees based on their site, based on their department, on their employment type, based on, for example, the time when they joined the company. You have a lot of different options here. So if you click in edit, you'll see all of the different conditions that you can apply here. And if you just want these to be applicable to a random group of employees, then you have the option also to select them by name in here. Great. So let me just click in next and show you how this looks like. So basically, these are all of the tasks that I have as part of my work from home onboarding task list. As you can see, for example, one of the tasks that I have is order and send the equipment for the new joiner. These includes a description and also a due date. Let me just open these to show you how this looks like. So as you can see over here, I have the name of the task, the assignee as well, which can be a specific employee that I have in my organization, or also this could be based on somebody's role. So for example, if I want the manager to do something for the new joiner, I can select manager as the role, and the system will know who the manager is for this new joiner and will assign the task to the relevant person. If you add any custom fields, employee type, in settings, employee fields, those custom fields will also show here as roles available for you to select. So for example, mentor is a custom field that I have created, employee type. I have populated these for all of my employees in the organization because we have a mentorship program. And if I select here mentor, the system will automatically assign this task to these employees mentor. Perfect. And something you can do as well, let me just show you here, is you can use the smart fields to just populate this information, the message that you want to send to the assignee of the task. It's really, really useful because you can populate a lot of information automatically by just selecting this smart field and adding it to the body of your message. And the information that can be pulled could be from the employee profile, maybe from the manager, or from any other custom fields that you have created, employee the employee reference type, such as mentor, for example, as I said, IT manager, HRBP, or any other options you may have created. Over here, we've got the due date, which is going to be just a reference for the assignee to know by when the task should be completed. So for example, if I trigger all of the tasks of the work from home onboarding task list a couple of weeks before somebody's start date, I want these to be completed 2 days before this person's start date. So I know that if I'm the assignee, I have to complete this task by then. You can also set dependencies. So basically, if you want a specific task to only be triggered upon the completion of another one from the same task list, you'll be able to set the dependency in here. So if I enable the dependency, you will see here that in the dropdown for tasks, I have all of the tasks from this task list that I can select from. And I can also set up a condition. So for example, if a specific task should only be applicable to a specific department, team, employment type, I can also set that condition here by adding the filter. Great, so this is just a general task, and we also have other options in terms of tasks. So when you click here in create a new task, you will see other options other than general task. We have the ability to send an email, an automatic email to whoever you select. So for example, something that I have created in this task list is just a welcome email for the employee. However, this is just an idea. This is for you just to have an idea of how this is going to look like. As you can see over here in the body of the message, I have added some smart fields as well, which will be populated when the message is sent. Some other ideas are, for example, if you set up a task list that is going to be triggered for somebody's birthday, for somebody's anniversary, you could actually also send, set up an email that will be sent to the employee just to say congratulations. If maybe there's a message, an email that has to be sent, let's say to finance, when a new joiner joins the organization or at any given point in the employee lifecycle, this is something you can use as well. The third option we have is the employee feedback. So just heads up, these will be available to you if you have the talent module, which is one of our add-ons. The talent module includes surveys, performance, and goals as well. So if you have these enabled on your account, if you have it as part of your subscription, you will also have the ability to send a form for the employee to gather their feedback in an automatic way. So basically over here, you'll need to go to employee lifecycle feedback, which is non-anonymous surveys. You'll need to set up the form that you want to send to the employee. And once you have set up the form, you'll be able to just add it here as part of the task list. So basically over here, I have selected this specific form, and it would be sent to the employee when all of the tasks are triggered. These will allow myself to just gather employee feedback at any given point. Some ideas on how to use these could be, for example, for exit interviews as part of the offboarding task list. You can also create a task list that is going to be around people's end of probation, maybe 30, 60 days after somebody's start date. You want to also trigger a form that is going to be sent to the employee to just gather their feedback about their onboarding, just to make sure that, whether they're being onboarded remotely or from the office, if this is your case, just to make sure that you're gathering these employees' feedback and you understand how they're doing and if there's anything that you need to improve. And last but not least is a calendar event. So this is super, super useful at any point, but also even more during the onboarding process of the new employee. So as you all know, when somebody new joins the organization, you have a lot of meetings that you have to set up between themselves and maybe the managers, maybe a meeting with a mentor, maybe a meeting with somebody from the same team or same department, just to have a little bit of a better idea of how they work internally. Something that you for sure do as well is for the new joiner to have also a couple of sessions with people from different departments, just so that they have a little bit of a more general idea of how the organization works. So this task actually allows you to book some time on somebody's calendar to have that chat. So you can decide what's the time that is going to be you know, when this chat is going to happen, whether the event should show yourself as busy or free. And as you can see, this is a really, really good idea as well. So I really recommend you to play around with it a little bit. I'm going to move into the employee onboarding experience. So you have to go to settings, and you're going to have to go to flows. And over here, we're going to find two very useful features for you guys. So far, you have been importing people's data in the system, most probably in bulk, because you have quite a lot of information from the employees. So instead of creating people's profiles one by one in a manual way, you're all, or most of you, using the import option over here to bulk import people's data. However, when we think about the future, once you have already launched Bob and everybody has been invited and you're using Bob, if you have a few new joiners every now and then, unless you have quite a lot of new joiners, maybe on the same week or on the same month, and you use the import option to bulk import their details as well, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be going to People Directory and click here in New Hire to add the new joiner. So when you click over here in New Hire, this is what you're going to be doing as an admin, remember. So when you're doing these, you will be able to select the template that you want to use to add this new person into the system. So something that you will be able to do is you'll be able to customize these different templates that you're going to be using to create these new employees profile in Bob. So what you can do, for example, if you think about, let's say that you have different offices in different countries. If you have, for example, as in my case, an office in London and an office in New York, you'll see that, for example, the national insurance number is a relevant field for the London employees. However, that is not relevant for my employees in London. It is, sorry, it's not relevant for my employees in New York. In New York, I'm going to need the social security number. So what I will need to do is I will need to customize these templates to make sure that the relevant fields are showing when I'm creating these employees profile in the system. The same goes, for example, for contractors. I'm going to show you how this is customized. So again, we're going to go back to settings and flows, and I'm going to focus on the new hire flow, which is, as I said, what you're going to go through when you as an admin add a new employee into the system. So for example, let me just show you quickly how this is going to look like for a general template. So over here, you're going to see all of the fields that myself as the admin are going to have to populate. So some of these fields are mandatory, as you can see, such as email, first name, last name, start date, and also the work information. Where you include the site, who people report into, what's their department, their job title, and things like that. Something I also want to add when I'm creating somebody's profile is the salary information, personal email, birth date, nationality, work phone, things like that. If you feel that there is anything else that you want to add, such as, for example, some information about their identification, or maybe, you know, the whole financial category, you can just select or unselect these fields in here. And in the features step, as you can see here, when I'm creating somebody new in the system, it's not just populating the information in those fields, but I can also be asked to, for example, assign them their holiday policy, their sick leave policy, assign them the benefits, trigger a task list if that's relevant, maybe manage goals as well for them. So if this is going to be relevant when you're creating this person profile in the system, then feel free to enable all of these steps. If we think, for example, about the situation when you're adding a contractor into your account, maybe you don't need them to have a time off policy assigned or a benefit assigned. So what you will be able to do is you'll be able to unassign these steps and just create a template with these, only with these 2 steps on top of obviously the categories and the fields you need to populate for this case. And the next one will be just the invite. So if you also want to link the new hire flow with the employee onboarding flow that you're going to be triggering, you can also do it here. And I'm going to show you how the whole employee onboarding flow works in a second. So let me just go back. So once you have created all of the new hire flows that you're going to need in the system, for example, new hire for a specific site, for a specific department, for a specific employment type, and also please bear in mind that you can duplicate these. So if they're quite similar and you just need to twist a couple of things, you can just duplicate and edit them. So once I have done these, what I will need to do as well is I will need to customize the employee onboarding flow. Basically, the employee onboarding flow is that once you have already created the new joiner's profile in the system and you're ready to invite them to join Bob, you will be able to trigger these employee onboarding flow, which will prompt the new joiner to provide you with all of the information that you need. It will allow them to upload their profile picture, but also quite a few other things. So I'm going to show you that as well. And as you can see, you can also customize these for people in different sites, in different departments with different employment types. And you can also duplicate all of these. And the cool thing about these employee onboarding flow is that you can also preview all of this information by just clicking here. So basically, you're going to have a new tab opening that will show you exactly what the new joiner is going to view when they are accessing the pre-onboarding flow. So this is what they're going to see. If you click in Start Your Onboarding, you're going to see here. Let me just close these because I don't really want these to be showing. But you can add a video, maybe just as an introduction to your company. You can customize the welcome message as well. And when you click in Get Started, you'll be asked to upload your profile picture just so that everybody can see you here. And you also have here some information that you can populate, such as, again, this is the information that you have set up previously, and if you continue with the steps, you're going to see some other things as well. So let me just show you how this is going to be in the background. So if I click in Manage, I'm going to see all of the different steps that I can complete in order to customize this flow. So the first thing that I'm going to be able to do is obviously upload, for example, a video, or if you don't have a video, just a nice image that represents your company, plus obviously a welcome message for the new joiner. Something you can do as well is you can make sure that through these onboarding flow, you're going to gather as much information from the new joiner as you need. So for example, information such as their address details, financial details, emergency contact information, that is actually really relevant. And you may not have that before you actually before the new employee joins the organization, or when you have created the profile before. Something really cool as well is that obviously you want to know as much information as you can about the employee. So something that you can also ask them to share with you are their hobbies, their superpowers, something, for example, like food preferences. If you have some swag, company swag that you send them, maybe their t-shirt size, things like that are really, really cool. They're going to be, you're going to be able to customize the employee experience when they're joining, and they're going to see exactly, they're going to know exactly what to expect from your company and your culture as well, based obviously on all of these that you're setting up. With a lot of new people being onboarded remotely, but also for those that aren't, something that we find really useful are the introductions. So for example, you can introduce the new joiner to people that work in the same department, or that people that report into the same manager. So this is really, really cool and really useful. And you can also introduce them to other key people, such as, for example, their manager, their mentor, or maybe specific people in the organization, such as, for example, the CEO, HR, so yourselves can also be obviously introduced as key people in the organization for the new joiner. And once you have already selected those key people that you want to introduce to the new joiner, you're going to be able to set up the emails, the messages that you're going to be sending out or that are going to be sent out automatically. This is something that you trigger automatically. So when you're thinking about somebody that is going to be joining, let's say at the end of the month, if you create their profile today and you invite them into the system today, what's going to happen is that they're going to receive the pre-onboarding email. The pre-onboarding email is going to include a link that will allow them to go through this employee onboarding flow that we have just customized, and will allow them to populate the information that you're asking them to share with you. However, these will not give them access to their full Bob account. That will only happen on their start date. So on their start date, they will receive the start date email, which you can also customize and add some emojis to it, add the smart fields as well. And this start date email is going to include a link that will include the invite to Bob, to access Bob, so they can access the full platform, which they couldn't do before the start date. So this is something you can customize here as well. And last but not least is the documents page. So for example, if you want the new joiner to provide you with a copy of their passport, their visa, their ID card, any documents you may need from them, you can just list them here, so they will see what you're asking them to do. And if you also want to allow them to view some company document folders, you can also allow them to do these by enabling this option. So if you have, for example, a company document folder where you're sharing all of the policies about going to the office, or maybe the work from home, work from office policy, all of those things that you want to share with the employee before they actually join, these can be done through this option. So I'm going to move on to the next module, and what I'm going to present is the document management feature, which is very, very useful as well. And something that I want to mention before I dive deep into the document management feature is that you can actually bulk import documents as well. So if you go to people and you go to import, something you can do over here, let me just leave the setup of this, is that you'll be able to import people's documents. So you can bulk import all of this information. If you have, for example, people's pay slips, contracts, promotion letters, employee handbooks that they may have signed in the past, any documents that you want to upload to people's profiles in bulk, you'll be able to do it from here. So this is going to allow you, it's going to save you quite a lot of time, so you don't have to do these one by one for each of the employees. Perfect. So just going back to Docs, if I click here in Docs, I can see 4 tabs over here on the left-hand side. So the first one that I'm going to mention is the company document tab. So within company docs, what you can do is you can create different folders. As you can see here, I have created a few just by clicking here in this icon that says create folder. Once you have created this folder, what you can do is you can customize the sharing settings, so only the relevant people can access this folder, and obviously all of the content, all of the documents that are within the folder. So for example, something you can do is that if you have different locations, or if you want to share some documents with specific people in the organization, is that once you have created the folder, if you hover over the folder and click on the 3 dots over here, you have the ability to customize the sharing settings. So you can customize both who can view the documents within this folder, and also who has the ability to edit this folder. So for example, for this specific folder, because this is where I'm going to upload all of the documents that are going to be relevant for the employees that are part of my London site, what I have selected is that I want these to be viewable by people that are part of the London site. So this is something you can do in here. If you want to add another condition, if you want to say, okay, just people that belong to the London site, but also people that are full-time employees or permanent employees, you can just add a new condition and use by field, for example, in this case, and add this condition as well. If you want this to be just viewable by random employees that are actually not under the same conditions, you can also select specific employees just by selecting them from here and clicking in apply. And you'll see here the summary of the people that you're sharing these with as well. In terms of who can edit this folder and who can add and remove documents from it, it's the same kind of functionality. You'll be able to select whether you don't want this to be shared, select a group of employees, or maybe just share these with everybody. Maybe with the can edit option, you just want to add a few people that may be helping you with managing these folders, but you don't want to share it with everybody in the organization. And some ideas just that you can see here in the left-hand side is, for example, creating a document folder per site, maybe for a specific department, even just for managers. So you can just select, with the filtering that you just want to allow people that have direct reports to be to have access to this folder. And once you have created the different folders, you can obviously import and upload documents for people to be able to view here. They'll be able to just view the documents that you upload. Something you can do as well by selecting the employee and using the actions option is, for example, creating tags, adding tags to the documents. So as another layer to organize your documents within the folder, something you can do and you can use are the tags. So for example, some examples could be training. If you create if you create a folder where you add some documents and some of them are actually related to training and you want to make sure that they are easily accessible, once you have tagged them, over here, you can see the tags that I have already created in the system. What you'll be able to do is just click on one of the tags, and you will only be you will only see displayed that document that has been previously tagged with this specific tag. And the same goes for any other tag that you may have created. And something really, really useful as well is the ability to send this document with a read approval request. So if it's, for example, let's say the employee handbook, or maybe there are some policies changing in regards to being in the office, to working from home, any kind of situation in which you need to share a document with your employees and you want to make sure that they have read and approved all of that new information, you'll be able to use this feature. So select a document, and by using the actions option, you can send these with a read approval request. So you'll be able to select the employees that you want to send these with the read approval request, either everybody in the organization or maybe just some random people in the team. And once you have done these, you can also customize the message they're going to receive on their email, because they're going to get an email notification asking them to read and approve this document. Once you have clicked in assign, what's going to happen is that apart from receiving an email with that information, they will also find this request within docs and then requests. So over here, as you can see, I have one document that is pending my approval. So if I click in read and approve, I will see the information, the document, and I'll be able to read and approve it. Because I am an admin and I have these permissions, I can also see pending requests for other people's approvals. So if I for example, display one of them, I'll see that Anna has actually 2 requests that are pending her approval, and I can see when they have been assigned as well. Once you have assigned these documents, you want to keep track of who may have already read and approved those documents, of course. So by going back into this document that I have sent with a read approval request, what I can do is I can just see the status of this document. So you'll see in this pop-up who has already read and approved this document and when this was completed, and who may still have to complete this action. And if you want to download this information in an Excel file, you can just download it in here. So you'll have the file and you can just manage it however you need it. Perfect, great. So this is everything I wanted to mention about company docs. Obviously, there are some situations where you want to share specific documents with people that, just documents that may be just individual documents are just relevant for some people, such as, for example, as I said, the pay slips, contracts, offer letters, and things like that. So you'll be able to upload all of those documents if you go to docs and then you go to people's docs. So obviously, as an admin, I can view everything. So I can see over here all of these employees, all of my employees. If I select somebody else, I will see the documents that they have over here. Let me just see if Audrey has some documents. And as an admin, I can see that I have 2 folders here for this person, or for any employee. Actually, for all of the employees, we will have 2 folders. We have the shared document folder, where we will be able to upload documents that will be shareable, viewed by the employee. So Audrey will be able to view these 2 documents. If for any reason I want to upload some documents to this person's profile that I actually don't want her to be able to view because there has been maybe a specific situation, and I want to keep track of that. I want to have a record of that, but I don't necessarily want to share these with her. I will be able to upload those documents into the confidential document folder, which is not viewable for her and the rest of the organization either. This is something you can grant as permission. So in roles and permissions, you'll be able to share the visibility of the confidential document folder, for example, for managers, if this is something you want to do. Something we can also do is the ability to create custom folders on people's document pages. So if you go to settings and then you go to docs over here, what we will be able to do as part of this feature is that we will no longer have just confidential documents and shared documents. Maybe we want to have all of the payslips in one folder that is just going to be for payslips. Maybe there is a project that the employee is working on, and there are some documents that you want to share with them in regards to these project. So you'll be able to create here as many folders as you want, and they will be visible or not by the employee depending on the permissions that you set. So make sure that after creating the employee folder from here, you then go to roles and permissions and you grant permissions to view these specific folder for the employee if that's something that you want to do. There are some Help Center articles around these, so if you want to read a little bit more, feel free to go to the Help Center for that. And just something, one last thing that I want to mention is that all of those documents that are uploaded to the shared document folder or to any other custom folders you may create that are shareable and visible for the employee, they will have access to that via the My Docs tab. So the next feature that I want to present now is the reports. And reports are really, really important and really useful. And they are part of the analytics tab here on the left-hand side. So if you go to analytics and you go to reports, you'll see this page. And just one thing that I want to mention as well before I start showing you how the feature works is that the reports and the analytics in Bob will be as good as your data is in the system. So obviously, I strongly suggest adding as much information as you can about the employees, and also make sure that you keep everything updated, because this is what's going to give you the option to trust your reports and all of the data that you have here. So make sure that you use Bob as a single source of truth and the place where you store all of the updates and all of the people data that you need. So once you are here in the reports, something you will see obviously is that on the left-hand side, we have the ability to create as many folders as you want. And these will allow you to just organize all of your reports in the best way. And when you click on any of them, you'll see all of the reports that may have been added to these folders. When you click in New Report, you'll see here that you have different reports that are ready for you to use. So there's no need for you to customize the ones that you see here if they're already working as you expect them to work. We've got some reports, for example, around employee data, something such as, for example, employment history. We can see here as well salary history, work history, also a general report, which I'm going to show you now. We also have the changes report, which is going to show you either the audit. So if you select the audit, it's going to show you all of the changes that have happened in the system, and you will also see what was the previous value and what is the new value. We also see we can see the changes that have happened in a specific time frame, for example, which I will cover as well. We have a lot of different reports around time off. So for example, if you want to have a look at days or hours taken by the employee in the last month, if you want to make sure that people are on top of approving or declining requests, you can also run a pending request summary report just to make sure that you're keeping track of that. And obviously, if the information that you see here has to be customized, you will see that you can do that as well. If you have the attendance module, which allows you to clock in and clock out, you'll see also these reports available to you. If you have the talent module, you'll have these reports available to you. And we also have reports around permissions and task lists. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you quickly how the reports work, and I'm going to show you a general report first. Perfect. So the general report is going to show you basically the current information. So everything as it is in my account right now. If I want to maybe narrow down the search, or just make sure that I only focus on a group of employees at this point, for example, what I will be able to do is I'll be able to use the filters that I can see here at the top. So for example, under view by, I can select if I just want to focus on a specific site, for example, in my case, London. I can have a look also at the life cycle status. So in my case, this is just showing me employees that are currently employed. However, if you want to focus on people that are going to be joining in the future, people that have a future start date, you can select the hired status. If you want to focus on people that have worked in your organization but are currently not working at the moment with you, then you can have a look at terminated. And we have some other leave types as well that you can add to your reports. Same goes for employment type. We've got employment type and employment contract. And if you want to add any other filters, you can just click in the advanced filters and just add any condition that you need as well here. Obviously, you want to make sure that you're adding as much information as you need to the report, not just applying different filters, but just making sure that the information that is displayed is what you need and it's relevant. And you'll be able to do that by just using the column picker over here and just adding and removing any information that you need. So for example, if I'm just going to focus on the display name, I can just remove first and last name. If I want to have a look at start date, I can just add it in here. If I want to add the full, for example, category, I can do it like this. If I am just interested in a specific field or column within this category, I can just select that one. And as soon as you apply the changes, you'll see this information populated. Something you can do as well is just drag and drop the columns so that the information is displayed as you want it to be. And if you want to remove any of the columns, you can just hover over it and click on the X option. If you want to download the report, you can do it from here, and you have these two options, these two file types in which you can download the data, and you can obviously also save these to be able to access this report later on. If you want to just reset all of the filters that you may have applied, just make sure that you click here on the circular arrow and everything will be resetted. Great, so this is just a general report, just an idea of how you can customize your report. Something that I want to show you as well, because I feel that this is very, very relevant and very useful, is the changes report. So when you have a look at the changes report, something you will see is that whatever has changed is going to be highlighted in yellow. So this is why this is a super, super useful report as well. So the first thing you'll need to do is you need to make sure that by using the column picker, you include here all of the columns that you want to add to your changes report. So for example, if you want to create a changes report that will show you all of the changes that have happened on people addresses, maybe any changes related to payroll, to salary, to job title, all of those things, just make sure that using the column picker, you add all of those relevant columns in your report. And something we can see now here that we didn't have in the general report is the date range. So as I said before, the general report is going to show you the information that is current. However, when we look at changes, we want to be able to just customize our report to show information that is just relevant for a specific time frame. So when you click here in the date range filter, you can just use any of the preset options that we have, such as, for example, last month, next month. You can select a custom time range, selecting the start date and the end date as well. Or, for example, if what you want to do is run some reports for payroll that and you know your cycle maybe is not following the natural calendar, so it's not from the 1st to the 30th of the month, maybe it's from the 16th of the previous month to the 15th of the current month. This is something you can set up with the cycle as well. Perfect. So this is the information. This is a little bit of an overview about the reports. So what I want you to keep in mind, and this is going to save you quite a lot of time, is that you can schedule reports to be sent automatically. So if I go back into reports, let me just leave the page. Over here at the top right hand side, you will see that you have the ability to schedule reports. So if I click in schedule reports, I'll see that I already have some reports that I have scheduled. Some of them are active, some others are inactive. So you can manage them as you need. You can enable and disable schedule reports as you may see fit. If you want to create a new scheduling, and this is something that, as I said, is going to save you quite a lot of time, in cases such as, for example, let's say that on a monthly basis, you want to have a look at the time of requests that people have submitted under the sick leave policy, or maybe requests that people have submitted on a quarterly basis under holiday, just to make sure that you keep track of, how people are feeling, if they're asking or if they're requesting enough leave days, if they're taking enough time off as well, just to prevent burnouts and things like that. Obviously, as well with payroll, this is super relevant and super important for you guys as well. Make sure that you speak with payroll and you create all of the relevant reports for payroll, such as, for example, new joiners, leavers, address changes, financial changes, salary changes, if you have commissions, if you have bonuses, things like that. Make sure that you first create all of those reports that you need. And then when you click here in new schedule, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to give it a name. So let's say, for example, payroll, and you're going to be able to select all of the reports that you want to include in the scheduling. So you can just include maybe a specific report here and there, or just reports that are part of the same folder. So if you want to include all of the reports from the same folder, you can just do it this way and click in apply. And obviously you can set up the recipients. So the recipients could be somebody that is already in the system in Bob, such as, for example, yourself and other people from the HR team, but you can also add external emails. So if you have another company that is running your payroll externally, you can also add their email here. And you can select what's the period, the frequency. So for example, if I want this to be sent on a monthly basis and I want it to be sent at the end of the month, you can even select the time when you want this to be sent to the relevant people, and also the file format. Once you have already completed all of these, you'll be able to just click in save, and that's everything you need to do. These will become active over here, and these will be sent on a regular basis to the relevant people. The next module that I want to present today is the roles and permissions. So roles and permissions are super useful and super important, and I would definitely suggest reviewing these before you go live. You'll be able to set these up in settings and then roles and permissions. So over here, when you have a look at the roles and permissions, you will see that we have 4 groups of permissions that are already available to you out of the box. And these are admins, all employees, managers, and profile owners. The admins group of permissions is going to include yourself and anybody else that you may have also set up in the system with permission to view and do everything in Bob. You also have here the managers group of permissions, which is a self-managed group. So you don't really need to do much with it in terms of adding and removing employees. Anybody that has an employee reporting into them will be automatically added to this group. And if somebody for any situation just has nobody, at one point they move from having people reporting into them to not having anybody reporting into them, they will be automatically removed from this group as well. When we access any of these group of permissions, and for example we click on one of these features, we will see, for example, that in this case, and as you can see, managers group of permissions apply to direct and indirect reports of all of these employees. We'll see that, for example, confidential docs are not visible for managers, so managers cannot view documents in the confidential folder for the people that report directly and indirectly into them. If this is something we want to change, we will be able to just click here and enable the ability maybe to view, maybe also to upload and share this information. It really depends on what your permissions should be like. And once you have already made the changes that you want to make, you'll be able to click here in Save Changes. You'll see a summary. If you're happy with the changes, you can just click in Apply, and the information will be applied to all of the managers. We also have the profile owners group of permissions, which will allow you to customize what people can view and do on their own profile. So let's say that, for example, if I go to people, I will see here all of the categories that people can find or that you can find on people's profiles. So maybe if we have a look at the emergency section, you do want people to view their emergency section and maybe even edit that information. But for example, if we have a look at let's say life cycle, this is information related to whether people are terminated or on leave or things like that. By default, this is going to be disabled, and maybe there's some information that you don't want people to have access to either. So you can just make sure that this information is disabled if that's something you don't want to share with the employees. If you create a custom category, this custom category will show here. So for example, in my case, the hardware and software category is something I created custom. So by default, people will not have access to view or edit this category. So if you create a category and you expect people to maybe populate some information in it, just make sure that you come here to the roles and permissions, and within the profile owners group of permissions, you enable the option to view or to view and edit if that's the case. And again, we'll be able to click here, save the changes if we're happy with them, and that's it. Something that I want to show you as well is the all employees group of permissions. So this is where you define what people can view and do on other people's profiles. So again, feel free to have a look, review that everything is as you want, and also make sure, just as a reminder, because I'm sure that all of you already know these already, and if you don't, I'm going to tell you now, we have the logging as feature. This is an amazing feature that will allow you to log in as somebody else, and you'll be able to see the platform in the same way that they see these. So for example, when you make any changes to the roles and permissions for somebody, if you're not completely sure how they're going to see things, or if you just want to make sure that everything is set up as you want it to be, what you can do is you can just click on your profile picture, click in logging as, and you'll be able to log in as anybody else in the organization. The only exception is the ability to log in as another admin, because you're going to be able to view and do everything that they do. Great. So once you have already just have a look at these 4 groups of permissions to make sure that everything is set up in the way that you want. If you have specific cases in which you want to grant extra permissions to some people, this is something that you can achieve by creating a custom group of permissions. So for example, as you can see here, I have created a custom group of permissions for the office manager in my London site, just because maybe they need to have access to the address information for people that belong to the London site. Let's say that, for example, with the payroll, I want to grant permissions for somebody to be able to see payroll information, but I want this just to be applicable to people that belong to the US site. So something I can do is I can just in here, when I select the person that I want to add into this group of permissions, I can either select by conditions. So for example, I can say people that belong to the payroll department in the US site are going to be added automatically to this group. Or if maybe I just want to grant this permission to somebody in particular, I can just select them from here. Once I have clicked and apply, you'd see that this person has been added here. When I scroll down, I'll just be able to grant whatever permissions I need to grant. So in my case, this person, because they need to have information, they need to have access to financial information from the employees and also payroll information, I'm going to enable these 2 options. And this is important as well. I can decide whether these extra permissions I'm granting apply to everybody in the organization, as you can see here, or as I said, because I want this to be just for payroll in the US, I actually want this person to just have access to payroll information for people that are in the US site. So I can just select site equals, and I'm going to select my New York site. In terms of the lifecycle status, maybe I don't want them to just have access to people payroll and financial details when they're employed. Maybe I want them to also have access to terminated and hired employees. maybe I want them to have access to everybody's payroll and financial details at any given point. So I can select all of the life cycle statuses in here. And as we have done before, if we save here, we'll see all of these as a preview. And if we're happy, we can just apply the changes, and these custom group of permissions will show in here. Perfect. So the last thing that I want to mention on today's training session is the integrations. So if you go to settings and you go to integrations, over here you'll see all of the tools that we integrate with and all of the options that we offer in our integrations page. And I'm going to focus on a couple of them. So when we're looking, for example, when we're thinking about recruitment, I'm sure that a lot of you are going to be quite busy with recruitment in the next few months. So if you're using any of these tools, you can actually integrate them with Bob. So what you will be able to do is you will be able to link any of these tools with Bob. And what's going to happen is that when you mark a new joiner, a new hire as hired in these tools, then these will trigger an email that will be sent to whoever is the point of contact, and you'll be able to go through the new hire flow with as much information as possible. So basically, the system will pre-populate any data that you may already have in any of these tools. Also, their contract will be pushed to Bob, so it will be already stored in their document page. If you're thinking about, if maybe you're not using any recruitment tool, but you're thinking about maybe purchasing a subscription with any ATS, maybe have a look at the ones that we have here, that we offer here, and look into them. And just the last thing that I want to mention as well is the collaboration tools. So we have integrations with Slack and Microsoft Teams, and we know that a lot of companies, it happens to us as well, all of the employees spend quite a lot of time using these collaboration tools. We need to communicate quite a lot, and a lot happens in Slack or Microsoft Teams. So there are a lot of different actions and notifications that you'll be able to receive, and your employees will be able to receive if you use these collaboration integration. So I would definitely suggest setting them up if you're using Microsoft Teams or Slack. Some examples, for example, is the ability to request time off and approve time off via Slack or Microsoft Teams, seeing a daily digest to see who is out today, seeing birthdays and anniversaries, seeing tasks that have been assigned to you, and so on and so forth. I recommend having a look at all of the integrations that we offer. And like I said, guys, just make sure that you have a look at the implementation guide. The last step, once you have already set up everything, would be to just customize Bob so that it shows with your background and your logo. And we have here some resources that will help you launch the platform as well, such as user guides, email templates that will help you create some hype internally, also information about the mobile app. And if you are purchasing the attendance module or the performance module, you can actually set them up using these articles as well. Thank you again. If you have any questions, please reach out to the support team, and have an amazing rest of the day. Take care.